All right, we're heading into our 9th year. That's actually crazy to think about. 9 years of this game. Alongside a brand new chapter coming to the 8.0.0 update. We've updated the larger balance chapter. Okay, sure. Okay, good guy. Ooh. Change. Decreases Hottie Ho cooldown to 12 seconds. Was 18 seconds. Chucky can only scamper while performing a slice and dice attack. Decreases the time it takes to scamper to 1.3 seconds. Wait, they made scamper faster. But that's good because you can only do it while... Yo, already love this. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I think I'd have to feel it out. They can honestly maybe even make this lower. Like... I think even 10, I think even 12 seconds could be lowered to like 10 or something. You know what I mean? Because I feel like if you can't scamper, if you can only just like use your slice and dice in your power, and you can't really like scamper manually or whatever, I think it adds a lot more like play around his power, and I don't really think it's that unrealistic to give him his power more often. Like I really don't. I feel like I'd have to play with this, right? So like maybe like we'll when we see this on the PTB, but I would love to test this more because I genuinely think like without actually like manually scampering, it does feel like you should be able to avoid this way more often, right? Like it should create way more 50-50s. Like I think they can lower this to like 10 seconds and it would probably still be fine, but I love this. No matter what, even if it's 12, that's still a big change, right? That's a third of the cooldown, right? So yeah, it literally took away a third of the cooldown, but you can't scamper anymore. This is amazing, dude. It's so great too because I've been saying this for months. This is literally all they have to do to Chucky to make him great. Like Chucky's literally gonna go from probably my least favorite killer in the entire game to go against to probably one of my favorites now. Well, I shouldn't say favorites, but I'm gonna love playing against him. Like I genuinely will. Like he's gonna be really, really fun with this. So I'm actually so pumped for this dude. This is so good. This is so good. I kind of want to see what this said. Scamper can sometimes lead to unavoidable hits, since survivors cannot possibly get someplace safe in the time it took for Chucky to crawl under the pallet. When to shift his gameplay away from these easy hits, scamper the basic attack, and instead encourage use of his unique slice in his attack. This is so good. I mean, realistically speaking, a lot of times the free hits were from a scamper and then his dash. But still, I mean, regardless, they still seem to have the good mindset towards it, which is that scamper basically led to free hits. They didn't really require any skill. And they're basically saying they want to encourage using power more. I love this, dude. I really hope that people don't like complain about this and get this reverted or something. Because I feel like some Chucky players might be like, but my free hits, how do I play without my free damage? Because honestly, if you're a good Chucky player, this is like, well, I don't know if you can say this is a buff. This is definitely a buff to his fun, right? Being able to use your power more is undeniably more fun. It probably undeniably makes him a little weaker, but like, I think that's fine. Like honestly, I think that's totally fine. I think this is perfect. This is like a perfect change. I fucking love this. Bubba, okay. Increases chainsaw sweep duration to 2.5 seconds per token, so longer sweeps by default. Sweep movement speed to 5.35. Okay, this got buffed by like 0.06. That's like barely. That's weird. Like why even what? That's such a minor change. Like why even change it at that point? The fuck? It's like less than 1 meter per second. It's like half of a meter per second. Okay. Decrease collision detection size to help navigate tight spaces. Okay. I actually don't know if I like that, but okay. Decreases base tantrum time to 3 seconds, was 5 seconds. Several add-ons have been adjusted accordingly. Curious to see what they say about this. To reduce the cannibal's dependence on certain add-ons, we've taken a part of the effects of the most popular add-ons and incorporated them into the base kit and toned down the add-ons to compensate. Okay, so they basically made like beast marks and chili somewhat base kit. Which I think is fine, to be honest with you. We've also reduced the size of the chainsaw's collision against the environment to make it less likely to bump into things that aren't directly in front of you, to make it easier to use its power in tight spaces, and reduce the tantrum duration in case you still bump. This is one of those weird things where, like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, part of me is like, okay, this makes him easier to play, so he's, like, less frustrating for people. So, like, that's a good thing. But then another part of me is like, well, I also feel like this was kind of a part of his, like, skill ceiling. You know what I mean? Is like the ability to navigate around objects without bumping. And I feel like that was kind of like, I actually think this is a big part of his balance. Like, obviously I don't know how much they decreased collision, you know what I mean? But like, say like, just hypothetically, just throwing it out there, in theory, hypothetically, if they like really severely reduce the collision to the point where it's like really, really easy to like hug walls while chainsaw sweeping, this killer is going to become like very, very strong, right? Because again, like, I mean, look, you go 5.35 for like roundabout 7.5 seconds by default, even, right? I mean, obviously that's if you hit, the M2 at the perfect moment. We'll even say, even if you just get the full 2 seconds each time, that's still 6 seconds of like 5.35. I know there's like a slight ramp up, but you know what I mean? Still, like, Like 5.35 is insane. Like Bloodlust 3, as far as I'm aware, is like 5.2. So this is faster than Bloodlust 3. This is like Bloodlust 4 essentially. So you're going like Bloodlust 4 speed for 6 seconds while wielding a one-shot sweeping chainsaw, you know? So like I feel like the like rough collision was the main thing that made that like kind of like it made it kind of risky. It made it like a bit hard, and like it made it a survivor. Like they at least had to make sure that they were playing really well, otherwise they wouldn't get it. I feel like this kind of might make him a little scary to the point where he might just become a killer where you have to just camp pallets and do nothing but camp pallets. Again, it depends on how much they decreased collision though. We can't really like, it's hard to say. Like if they only reduce it like a little bit, then maybe it's fine. Until I actually am able to play it, there's really no way to know for sure. But I will say that I think if they reduce the collision too much, this might actually be a really bad thing. Like this might be a really, really bad thing, to be honest with you. I don't know. Like I'm a little skeptical on that one. But like, yeah, I think the other stuff seems fine. I think like adding chili, or adding like a weaker version of chili and a weaker version of Beastmark's base kit seems fine, because yeah, everybody runs chili and Beastmarks, right? Or at least chili. Like I mean, I've seen some people not run Beastmarks, but like chili gets ran every single game no matter what, because why not? You know what I mean? I don't know. Good change. A little bit concerning on this one, but probably still a good change. Slinger. Uh-oh, what did they do to my boy? Change stun time when a survivor breaks free to 2.7 was 3. Wait, they reduced it even more? Changed real speed to 2.76 was 2.6, so you basically reel a little bit faster. Increases movement speed while reloading. Oh, okay. So you move a little bit faster while reloading. I mean, this isn't much of a change, right? It was 3 seconds. It's basically like a basic attack cooldown is all they did. Dev note, every second counts. We've made some tweaks to save the Slinger some time when reeling in, survivor and breaks free, blah, blah, blah. It's just, yeah, just a minor buff to Slinger, which honestly, I guess that's fine. I don't really think Slinger needed this, but like, I mean, I know that this killer's like super punishing, and I know that like, you can't really expect every killer player to play him well, so I feel like for the people that aren't playing him super well, this will probably make him feel a little bit less shitty, you know? So like, I guess I'm down with it, you know? I don't really feel like he needed it, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Wesker, change. Decreased hinders penalty from infection to 4% was 8%. Nice. I love that. Change. Infection is now reduced to 1 when hooked. Good. I mean, I still think they could have just made this not build and chase. But, like, this is still pretty good, right? You go down to 1 when you're hooked. So, like, if a Wesker wants to tunnel you off hook now, it's going to take like literally twice as long to get you to max infection, right? Like, literally twice as long. Because you were going from 50 to 100. Now you're going from 1 to 100. And also, even when you get max infected, it's only 4% hinder, which is not the end of the world. Like, 8% hinder was brutal, dude. Like, 8% hinder was so bad, it felt like you could do nothing. I feel like 4% hinder, like, while that is a lot, like, it's still, like, that's still significant, don't get me wrong. That's not, like, the end of the world. That's kind of like Bloodlust 1, right? It's almost like the killer has, like, perma Bloodlust 1, kind of, in theory, right? Obviously, it's a little bit different, but it's, like, similar values, right? So I think that's a good, yeah, this feels like a good change. I mean, I still think they could have just made it not build and chase, and that probably would have been fine, but you know what? This is also cool, too. I'm kind of down. Yeah. 4% is still significant, but not a death sentence. Yep. Honestly, I think the wording, like, whoever's, like, writing their dev notes here seems, like, very promising. Like, it kind of feels like they get stuff, you know? Like, it makes me happy to read. Like, they're like, yeah, I mean, we're gonna take it to 4%. It's still good, but not death sentence, which is exactly what I was thinking, right? Which is super cool. Yeah, I love that. Blight, change combat 33, now increases rush turn rate and duration by 11 instead of 33. So they really nerfed that, which I mean, good. Your Blight tag now increased rush speed by 10 instead of 20. Nice, good, yes. Wait, this is actually kind of a big deal, right? Wait, so like, what do these two do now? So this gets a third of the value it got before. And this is getting half of the speed. This actually feels really good, right? Right? 10% is not that much, right? How much do you get per rush now with double speed? It's like 6% per rush, I think. So this is like the equivalent of like your second rush with double speed. Or sorry, your third rush with double speed. Which is not really that bad at all, honestly. That's much more manageable. Like 20% is insane. 10% is... Like, this still, like, I still think this combo will be strong, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be, like, the absurdly, like, ridiculous bullshit we have right now, you know? That's actually really cool. And, yeah, I mean, short and sweet, dude. They're like, yeah, hey, these add-ons were too strong. We toned them down. I agree. Good job, behavior. I agree. You know, you're doing great. Honestly, so far, this update seems amazing. Toolboxes. Increased toolbox Sabo speed across most variants. Okay. Increases effects of Sabotage-related add-ons, grip wrench, cutting wire, hacksaw. Toolboxes are often considered the repair item. While this is fine for those who want to use them to repair, we like to make sure the Sabotage feels like a viable alternative to those who want it. This is an interesting change because, like, Oh man, I have so much to like. I have so many thoughts about this. It's hard to like articulate them all. I agree that like, yeah, most people just use toolboxes to like bang gens. You know, I think that's like the thing. Sorry, to slam gens. I shouldn't say bang gens. That's a weird way to say it. To slam gens. And I feel like Sabo is like the more like interactive and like fun thing, right? But at the same time, something that I've kind of learned, especially as I've gotten into more like comp DBD, which, okay, to be clear, I don't think the DBD should balance around comp, right? Like, that shouldn't be a thing. So, like, I want to make that clear too, which is why my thoughts are kind of scattered here. I don't really know what to think. But, like, having gotten into comp and really figuring out, like, how good organized teams of, like, really, really good players can be, Sabo as a whole is just fucking insane. Like, really, like, Sabo in the hands of really, really good players is, like, absolutely absurd, right? It's just it's one of those things though where like it's only good when you're absolutely absurdly, sorry, I shouldn't say it's only good. It's only like overpoweredly good when it's in the hands of like absurdly organized and good survivors, which again you're almost never going to run into, right? Like in like a public match of DB, you're almost never going to run into that. Like you maybe on like a very rare occasion, but like very, very rarely, right? So like in a weird way, this sort of worries me at like the super high end. But at the same time, it's like, are you ever really going to run into that super high end in public matches? Not really. You know what I mean? Like maybe once in like a very rough blue moon. And even when people think they're running into those high end players, they're probably not. They're probably just like a decent team of people. Because like Sabo is one of those things where like I do think other than at like, you know, the super highest level where people are insane at the game, at like 99% of matches, Sabo's a good thing, right? It's just like it's like an extra interaction where like the survivors can kind of like interact with the killer in some way to try to like it's like an extra altruism action, you know? It's also risky. Like if you go to Sabo and then they just make it to another hook or something, then you wasted time. Or sometimes like people go to Sabo and they just are a little bit late and then they get killed doing it, right? Like it's one of those like risky altruism plays that I think it like adds a lot of fun to the game. So I think yeah, you know, I'm actually like I'm kind of thinking about it in my head as I'm talking. So like bear with me. I'm kind of like getting my own thoughts as I'm thinking about it. I think this is good. I think this is a good change. Like again, I think there will be certain instances where like in the hands of really good teams, this could end up being like absurd. But I just don't think that's going to happen often enough to say that this is a bad change. Like I think the vast majority of games, if people are going for Sabo more, that's probably fine. Like, that's just like a fun interaction. It's a fun altruism thing. It gets them off gens. It gets them interacting more. It kind of puts them in a... It also puts them in a position where they might throw, right? Like, even if you're a killer player and you're like, oh, I don't want people saboing more. In reality, like, if people are going for sabo more, that's going to be more and more people that are, like, putting themselves in a dangerous position where if they make even a little mistake, then you can snowball the whole game into a win, right? Which is a good thing. Like, it gets them off of gens. Because undeniably, if they just slid up and slam gens, you're going to be much harder off most of the time. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think this is good. I think this is good. I like this. I like this change. I had to think about it really hard, to be honest with you, but I like this change. It's interesting. I dig it. I dig it. I'm with it. Strongest and most frustrating perks to face. Okay. Deadlock. 25 seconds instead of 30. I mean, I feel like that's like barely a change. They just took away 5 seconds. But sure, I guess. I don't like, that's, sure, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to argue it. I guess fine. If you want to nerf Deadlock, I guess that's cool. Like, I think Deadlock needs a nerf. But like, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of, it didn't really feel like I feel like 5 seconds is like almost nothing. But hey, I'll take it, I guess. Why not, right? I mean, I don't think it's a bad change. I just kind of maybe wish they did something else or more. Background player. Ooh, decreased movement speed bonus to 150. Okay, so it's a normal exhaust. And it only exhausts for 20 seconds now. Okay. This is interesting. Background player's high movement speed allowed survivors to cross extreme distances to make a save. There was no way for killer to reasonably check that area, let alone defend against it. We have reduced the movement speed and instead reduced the exhaustion duration to compensate. This will make it harder to get a save, but allow you to make attempts more often. Yeah, this is kind of I'm a little bit torn on this because this makes me feel like my immediate thought is like, okay, why not just run sprint burst? You know what I mean? But like realistically, you right, there's some arguments you can make. Because, like, Sprint Burst obviously gives, like, a 40-second exhaustion. So, like, if you Sprint Burst once, you got to wait longer before you can do it again. Sure. And I guess also, in theory, if you have Sprint Burst, you have to make it a point to, like, not run a lot of the times, right? Like, with background player, for instance, right? Like, say somebody gets downed, like, and they're, like, decently far away from you. You can start sprinting to them, and then when the pickup happens, that's when you'll get your boost. Well, I guess at the same time, Sprint Burst does the same thing there, right? Because then you just get your boost and then run. So even that, actually, no, I don't know. This does feel like... Really, the only benefit is, like, the extra exhaustion, I feel like. Which, like, I don't really think is that big of a deal. Like, I don't... Like, is anyone going to run this now? I don't know. Like, I feel like, I don't almost feel like no one's really going to run this anymore. I feel like this is just going to be, everyone's just going to run sprint burst now. I feel like. I don't know. I mean, I'm curious. I guess we'll see. To be honest, I think they, I'm a little torn. I'm wondering if they could have made this number like slightly higher, like something in between these two. Like, I agree that 200% was ridiculous and like way too much, but I wonder if they could have done something like, oh wait, also, does the background player give you that speed for longer? Or wait, no, maybe that's a thing. Wait a minute, maybe that's a thing. Because like if that's a thing, then I can maybe see it. Like if background player gives you the speed boost for like 5 seconds instead of 3 or something, then maybe that would be okay too. Maybe. How long does a pickup take? A pickup takes 3 seconds, doesn't it? No, I don't think that would matter either. Yeah, I think they can maybe make the speed a little bit faster. Maybe like 175 or like 170 or something. Maybe. I don't know, because I feel like it's such a weird perk to balance, because I feel like this just makes it like less good sprint burst. You know what I mean? Like I don't see why anyone would run this over sprint burst. But at the same time, like it's such a hard thing to tweak, because I feel like if you tweak it too much, then it becomes insane, right? Like when it was at 200, it was insane. So like, I don't know. I don't really like this. Okay. I do like this in one sense because I think background player is insanely OP right now. So like I'm okay with it being nerfed. Like I think I would rather background player be useless than OP, I think. So like I'm okay with it in that sense. But at the same time, I feel like they need to do something to give it like its own unique identity, right? Like I do feel like it had its own identity right now, but the identity it has right now is just way too strong. But if they like even just made this 150 like 170 or 175, I think that would maybe do it. It's hard to say, man. I don't know. Yeah, I'm torn on that. I'm mixed on that one. Grim Embrace, decrease block duration to 10 seconds instead of 12. I mean, that's a very minor change, but I guess I'll take it, right? Like this is just like the deadlock thing. Like they're basically just taking the numbers and tweaking them very, very slightly, which again is fine. Like I would rather have a bigger change, but this is still good. Like I'm down with this, right? I mean, that just makes it slightly weaker, which is a good thing, so sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is just good. I think that's fine. I think Grim Embrace is a really, really ridiculously strong perk right now, so making it a little bit weaker seems fine. I just feel like this doesn't really make it that much weaker. Like Grim Embrace and Deadlock are still really, really strong perks, right? Like I think they could have gotten nerfed even more, but it's fine. It's fine. It's cool. I mean, I'm glad that I feel like any nerf is better than nothing. The S got moved down to 4 seconds. This is probably a good change, to be honest. Probably. I don't know, man. This is where I think I'm going to be, I think this is where I'm going to get a little bit hot takey. I think I'm going to get a little bit like hot takey right now. And I think, because I know, it's funny, when DS first got nerfed from 5 seconds down to 3, everybody complained. I shouldn't say everybody, but almost everybody complained. And then it took them like years to bring it back to 5 seconds. And then everybody was like, whoa, wait a minute. No, we actually like 3 seconds. Hold on a minute. and it's like, okay, wait, like make up your minds. I actually think, again, it depends on how you're thinking about balance. But if you're thinking about balance from like a like the random lobby point of view, I think it was good at 5 seconds. Like I really do. Like I don't feel like I feel like if I was playing public matches, I don't think the 5 second DS ever really like mattered so much that I was like, this needs to be nerfed by a second. Like I think it was fine. You know what I mean? And I feel like, especially on like S tier killers, right? Like if I'm playing like Blight or Nerf or something, especially, like I think giving them an extra second worth of distance feels like probably a good thing, you know? Like if you're getting tunneled by like a nurse or something, like that feels like very significant. Whereas like, yeah, like the extra second of distance on like a low tier killer might kind of suck or whatever. But again, like it didn't really seem like that big of an issue to me. Like I never really ran into a problem where this was like a huge game deciding thing. And I think having good anti-tunnel perks in the game is just healthy for the game in terms of like public matches. So like, yeah, I actually don't like this. That might be a bit of a hot take, but I actually don't like this. I think DS was fine at 5 seconds. I really do. Like I really, really do. I think if DS was like, if the extra second of DS was like deciding your games very often, then that sounds like, I don't know. I don't want to say I was going to say it sounds like a skill issue. That sounds a little too cruel. I mean, maybe though. Maybe that might be too cruel. I just feel like I don't think that was really deciding anything. And I feel like giving good anti-tunnel options to your average survivor players feels like a good thing to make the game just more enjoyable, right? I think like one of the most miserable things, at least on the survivor end, that makes everyone like hate this game is the fact that tunneling is so strong, and giving good options against it just feels like a good thing. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's also kind of me disregarding killers, frustrations too, I guess. But I just don't think I think you can address killers' frustrations in ways other than making tunneling stronger. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm not crazy. I don't hate this change. Like I don't hate it. I'm not like, oh god, this is the worst thing ever. But I don't like it, honestly. I think I would have rather it stayed at 5, I think. Pop, decrease regression effect to 20 instead of 30. Oh, big nerf to pop, actually. Pop is proven to be very strong. The conditions to activate it aren't very difficult. Better reflect how often it comes into play. We've reduced the strength of its regression effect. That's interesting. 20 instead of 30. So 20% of the current progress. That's actually a pretty big nerf to pop, honestly. Like, I feel like pop is most likely going to be taking off, like, what, like 10 to 15% of gens the majority of the time now? Like, even if you get a maximum pop kick, it's going to be like 20. I guess you also get the extra 5 from kicking, but, like, yeah, that's interesting. That's honestly not bad at all, really. Like, sure. I mean, I'm kind of down to them. I'm kind of down for them to like nerf aggression a lot, or sorry, nerf aggression a bit. I'm kind of okay with this. I feel like this helps, right? I think they're making a lot of the strongest regression weaker, which should make it a little bit more reasonable to run like non-regression stuff sometimes, right? Maybe. I mean, I still think this is like one of the best perks in the game, right? Like this is a big nerf. Don't get me wrong, but I still think this perk is insane. Like, it's still really, really good, regardless. All right, buckle up. No longer oh, they got rid of it. Oh, they fucking nerfed it. Drivers healed for the dying state break into a sprint at 150 movement speed for 5 seconds. This does not cause exhaustion. For 5 seconds. Damn. Wait, this is actually kind of interesting. Drivers healed from the dying state break into a sprint at 150 movement speed for 5 seconds. Damn. So, like, if you, for the people, buckle up someone, they just piece the fuck out. Like, they're just out of that bitch. But you don't get endurance anymore. That's the thing. Like, you no longer have endurance. What's the perk that gives you endurance whenever you heal somebody else? That was made for this, right? But that only works when you're injured, right? Is that how that works? Right? So, like, for the people buckle up with made for this wouldn't give you endurance, right? I'm pretty sure it wouldn't. No, We're Gonna Live Forever gives the person on the ground endurance. I'm talking about you. Because like, with this buckle up, like, say somebody goes down and you run up and for the people them in the killer's face, the person that went down could sprint away and they'll be relatively safe, but you'd be exposed, right? You'd be injured in their face with no endurance, so you would just die, right? And I don't think made for this would work with that. So, like, yeah. I actually, the more I'm thinking about this, the more I kind of love this. Because this actually does feel like an interesting anti-tunnel, though, right? Because, like, you still could, for the people, buckle up someone in the killer's face, especially if you have, like, maybe Unbreakable, too, right? Like, if you have, like, for the people, buckle up Unbreakable, and then you just, like, do it in someone's face, and they sprint away. Because, like, 5 seconds is a long time, too, dude. Like, that's, like, adrenaline, right? Like, I mean, sprint burst is 150 for 3 seconds. So this is 2 extra seconds. This is almost double sprint burst, almost. So that's, like, that's a big boost of speed. So, like, in a way, if someone's getting tunneled and you just run up and for the people buckle up them, you're basically just sacrificing yourself to help them get even further away. I actually kind of like this. This is actually kind of sick, I think. Because this feels like a more fair way of doing it. Like, I feel like that's how For the People Buckle Up is. Like, on live, I feel like For the People Buckle Up is this really strong tool to help against tunneling. But it's not, like, in a healthy way. Like, it feels shitty. You just run up and then do it, and then you don't really, like, lose anything for it, right? Like, there's no downside. You're just like, ha, we both have endurance. Let's run to a fast vault, and you can't stop us, haha. And then, it's just dumb. Like, it feels shitty. But, like, this, you're at least, like, you're actually trading something, right? Because you become a sitting duck, and the killer could very easily just down you, and then he can either A, hook you, which, obviously gives him a free hook, or B, he can leave you to try to keep tunneling. But if he does, you could always maybe run Unbreakable, but even then you got to use your Unbreakable, right? So that goes out of the window. You don't have Unbreakable anymore. Or if you don't have Unbreakable, then someone has to come pick you up. Like, it actually makes it like a trade-off. Like, you actually have to actually, like, give something up for it instead of it just being free. I actually like this a lot. I actually genuinely enjoy this change. I think this is actually kind of sick. I'm really curious to see how this plays. And obviously there's also, like, that's not even counting the situations where there's no for the people as well, right? I mean, like, how many times will there be situations where someone's just slugged and then you go pick them up, right? Like maybe someone gets slugged and then the killer, like, chases someone else for a little bit and you go and pick that person up with buckle up and then they bolt away. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like even outside of like the For the People, combo, I think this is just kind of a neat perk. Like, it just helps you pick people up and get them to safety, right? Which I think is kind of sick. So, yeah, I like this. I think this is actually really good. I actually really like that change a lot. That's super cool. Uh-oh, what are they doing to pain res? Oh, they're nerfing it. Sick. Let's go. Yo, pain res is only 20% now instead of 25. Nice. I like it. Good change. I mean, honestly, good change. I feel like this is how it should have been from the get-go. I honestly can't believe... Like, I remember when they made pain res 25% per hook, I remember being like, what? That is a crazy high number. What the fuck are they doing? So, yeah, this feels fine to me. 20% per hook seems totally cool with me. A-okay with that. Sure. I mean, again, even with this being 20%, this is still meta, right? Like maybe the DB community will do that thing where they overreact and they're like, oh my god, they gutted my favorite perk, oh my god. But realistically speaking, outside of like people overreacting, this is still going to be on like, what did it say, 40% of builds? This is still going to be on 40% of builds, dude. Like, this is still an insane perk. So, oh, what are they doing with this? Ooh, okay. Decrease invocation time to 60 seconds instead of, oh my god, they cut it in half. Instead of 2 minutes, it's just 1 minute now. Invocation progress now regressed at a rate of 1 charge per second, was 20 charges per second. Okay, so like if I'm trying to edge it, basically, it's much easier to edge it now, essentially. Because yeah, it regresses much, much slower. I guess if you just get interrupted in general, yeah, it's like much easier. But okay, so that's basically it. Just easier to activate, easier to like control when it activates. Yeah, I mean, that seems like a good change to me, man. I think this actually makes it a little bit more realistic in terms of like being like time efficient, right? Like taking a minute to basically like BNP every gen on the map could actually be realistic. Like I honestly might run this. Like honestly, I might run this. I might run this with like resilience and like, I don't know, dead hard or something. You know what I mean? And just stay injured the whole game and just say fuck it. You know? Like I don't know. I can see that. I feel like that could be kind of fun. I kind of dig it. I kind of dig it. Yeah, I guess with 4 people too. I guess like if all 4 people did it, it would be 15 seconds maybe. Is that how that would work? Like if all 4 people did it with the perk too, I think it would be 15 seconds, which would be absurd. I think anyway, unless the math is weird there. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean it's still kind of a goofy perk where it might be like a kind of a throw, but I think it makes it a little bit more viable, which is fair, right? If you want to just have some fun, I think it's more viable. Oh, what is this? Rework the lighting of the Shattered Square map. Dev note, the red-tinted lighting on the Shattered Square can make it difficult to see scratch marks, auras, and pools of blood, especially for colorblind players. We've completely changed the lighting on this map to address these concerns. It's blue now! Yo, it's all blue. It's like a green, blue, teal kind of, I don't even know. What would you call this? Aquamarine? I don't know. I'm not good with colors. It's some kind of a weird blue. Yeah, it looks like it's underwater. This literally looks like an underwater map. Like, I feel like this is like an underwater, like, pirate map or something. Which, I would rather have that than a gigantic red map where you can't see shit. Thank God, dude. They need to never make a red-tinted map ever again. Like, why? It kind of blows my mind that it took this long to do this. Like, I kind of sounds like I'm being harsh. I mean, and maybe I am. I don't know. But it kind of blows my mind it like, took this long. Because, dude, like, the red tint on this map was awful. Like, from day one. And it just never was better. Like, thank God they're doing this. Because, yeah, this is such a good change, man. That map was so brutal, dude. That was so brutal. But this is great. I love this. I love this a lot. Like, this is fantastic. Whoa, hey, what's this? Item previews. Oh, sick. Yo, that's cool, actually. Replaces empty slot. Yo, this is actually sick. It actually gives you all the info, too, for 45 seconds within 10 meters. Yo, this is actually cool as hell. What the hell? Wow, that's awesome. When you purchase an item, you'll now see a brief description of what that item does. That's actually, I love this a lot. This is actually so cool, dude. This is such a nice quality of life change. Wow, I like that a lot. That's really, 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 really good. Huh. Neat. Yeah, and it should be for pretty much everything, right? Yeah. I mean, it's really good. Yeah, again, with a growing number of killer specific items, exactly. Like, I feel like if you're like a newer player and you're like maybe playing against a killer like Singularity for the first time, you might be like, "What the hell is this thing even?" And then you'll walk up to it and it's like, "Oh, this gets rid of biopods." And you know, maybe you don't even know what biopods are yet, but I think you'll probably figure it out, right? Like, you'll probably start to figure it out. I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, all right, I kind of get it." All right, and also mark your calendars. We have plenty more surprises in store for the upcoming year. Be sure to turn to our anniversary broadcast on May 14th at 11 a.m. EST. When's the 14th? That's like next Wednesday or something? Or Tuesday? Wednesday? Next Wednesday, I think. For exciting reveals, including new features, the next chapter, and more. Be sure to follow us on Twitch or subscribe to blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I mean, dude, this is a really good patch. Like, I feel like the only changes in this patch that I'm, like, kind of meh about are, like, I feel like I'm, like, being super nitpicky, dude. I'm being, like, extremely nitpicky. Because, like, DS going to 4 seconds, I'm not, like, a crazy big fan of. I don't think it's a bad change. I just don't. Like, I would prefer it to be 5. I wouldn't even call this a bad change. I would just say I prefer it to stay 5, but, like, it going to 4 is fine. You know what I mean? But I would prefer it to stay 5. And then maybe Bubba not colliding, depending on what this is, right? Like, they didn't really specify, like, how much. But, like, if they hypothetically make it so that Bubba, like, almost never bumps, that would be a nightmare. I don't think they would do that, right? I'm sure it's probably just a minor change, but depending on how much it's changed, this could end up being a bad change. But outside of that, I think everything else in this feels great, right? I don't think there's anything in here that's bad, really. Like everything just feels phenomenal. I kind of love all of this. This is actually just a super good patch, dude. It actually makes me really happy too, because I feel like a lot of like the dev notes, like I love that they did this too, like the whole dev notes where they explain themselves and like explain their thought process. I really hope they keep this up. Like this is how every dev update should be, dude. Like a big ass list of changes, their exact reasoning why they want to change it, right? Like this is so good. This is so good. I love this. This is really good communication. I think it feels like they actually have a pretty good understanding of things, right? Like with all their dev notes, it feels like they have good reasons for everything they're doing. It feels like they have a pretty good understanding of what's going on with a lot of this as well. I just love this patch. I think this is really good. I'm pumped for this, man. And this is coming into PTB soon, right? So this should be sick. Yeah, I'm real excited. There's definitely some things we gotta test, like the Bubba changes, like the the whole like buckle up thing. Like there's I don't know, there's like a few things that like I want to test whenever it actually goes to live or goes to PTB. But yeah, man, this feels really good. I'm real pumped. Chucky too, yeah, Chucky as well. But yeah, I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. That's a good patch. That's a good patch.